Hello and welcome back to CVP Live. I'm Melissa and we have a making of a BAFTA award-winning special. So I'm joined today outside with the creators of 73 Cows. I've got Alex Lockwood, John Roddy and Oliver Walton. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So I would say the best place to start is if you just tell us who you are and a bit about yourselves.
Sure. Well, my name's Alex Lockwood and I'm the director and producer of 73 Cows. My background is kind of in the more corporate side of filmmaking, which I didn't particularly enjoy. But 73 Cows has, so far at least, given me that opportunity to pursue the kind of filmmaking I prefer, which is the more short-form documentaries about issues of ethics and things that actually kind of matter to me.
Oh, that's amazing. And John, do you want to tell us a bit?
Hi, I'm John Roddy. I did the sound recording, design and mix for 73 Cows. I've been working in film for probably 3 years. I used to work in a college in Bromsgrove. I was made redundant from there, and then an ex-student contacted me, Oliver Walton, and he got me to do some sound recording. I've been doing this ever since.
Cool.
So I'm Oliver Walton, so I was the cinematographer on 73 Cows. So I've been doing this, started my journey in 2005 as a student, then met John in 2007, went to university, and then I met Alex in 2011 on my last year. And then I started up my company called Fixate Films, dealing with corporate commercials, animation, and all sorts really. And obviously John, day to day, is my sound operators and boom, or anything to do with sound. And obviously I work together with Alex on other jobs as well, so it's a perfect place to bring us all together.
Nice. So guys, as usual, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat / comment box and I'll do my best to get them to you guys, okay? So if I'm not ignoring you if I look at the laptop, I'm just checking if there's questions, I promise. So to go along with our nature theme today, we're filming outside, so sound might be a little bit iffy as we have a running river out behind us and a road just to our right, but just bear with us. So I think the most sort of realistic place to start is, how did all three of you come together, like, to do a passion project?
Yeah, so as Ollie mentioned, like, I met Ollie at university years and years ago, and we've been making films together ever since. And you know, and Ollie knew John from his college years, and we'd been working in the more sort of corporate style of filmmaking, and for a long time we've really wanted to make a documentary or something that just has a little bit more meaning to it, and something we can really sort of like pour ourselves into, rather than something where we're being kind of told what to do. So my wife actually found this article online about this farmer, and I thought, wow, this is like an amazing story, and for some reason I didn't actually think to do anything with it for like a few weeks.
Okay.
And then obviously Ollie's always like saying, you know, we should make a documentary.
So I kept pestering basically. So literally, you know, we shoot like a lot of corporate stuff, and I was saying to John, we're on the road quite a lot, so we need to make something different. I said, you know what, we've done short films, we need a documentary. So we shot a short film with Alex back in 2013, wasn't it? They called The Music Room. Yeah. Which kind of passionately thinking, you know, that's what we're training in the cinema side of things, rather than, I suppose, the corporate aspect. So I spoke to Alex, say, look, we've got to use John. I'd never met before, so we've got to use John. He's my sound guy, he does everything brilliant. I think that's the weakest link of this documentary. So, you know, we can do sound, but to a cameraman's ability to do it justice. But I mean, then I bring John inside, approached John and said, look, how do you feel about 73 Cows? And John was all aboard, because John wanted it for his CV as well. And then all of a sudden, he's the man.
So do you find it helps so you don't get pigeonholed into a particular area and so on like that you sort of mix up, you've done short films and you've done documentary, and is that sort of the pursuit of doing?
I think my passion certainly is in anything to do with film. My film and documentary. Shoot a lot of corporates, but I bring the cinematic and film elements to corporates. For example, telling a story rather than just doing a talking head, do a voiceover kind of style of then. And I think what worked with 73 Cows is, again, we all wanted to do it. It's not the fact like, you know, we did it all with no budget. The idea is we wanted to do this to make a film that we all believed in and we all wanted to be proud of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when did sort of the subject matter give you a moral sort of compass to also push to make it, because it is very on topic, the environment and everything, you know, you get pushed through the news every day, especially with the new things with that sort of Blue Planet and everything like that, looking after the environment. Was that something that sort of made you want to do it as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I was vegetarian when I started making the film, and since making the film I'm now vegan. So that was definitely a big part in that initial interest in the subject. But to be honest, I more see it as a kind of film about mental health rather than a film about veganism or the environment, because I think that's one of the reasons so many people have related to it who perhaps are meat eaters, aren't vegetarian, because anyone can relate to that idea of somebody doing something purely based on their ethics rather than what they think they stand to gain out of something.
And it's the conflict within it, the J within it really is appealing to it. Okay, I think the best thing to do right now, guys, is give you a look at the 73 Cows trailer.
It was soul destroying, that's how it felt. But wanting to keep the farm working as a farm, I just needed to keep doing it until I could find what else to do.
It became clear that we really have to find a solution and to get out of cattle farming.
So what I really liked about it was Jay's and his wife's passion to change and to break that mould, which I think was most interesting. So how long did you spend with them before you went into filming?
So I initially emailed Jay, and just thinking like, okay, he's probably not going to respond to me, or, you know, like a story like this, he's probably been approached by loads and loads of filmmakers. So I was really surprised to find out like I was the first person to approach him. So he was like, yeah, you can come and film whatever you want, film wherever you want. So I went to meet with them without any cameras.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely.
And yeah, just so there's like no pressure on the situation.
Less intimidating as well.
Exactly, yeah. And I spoke to them for about 2 hours, and they said it was a bit like counselling, because, you know, when you're making a documentary, you're obviously asking questions that are very personal that they haven't really been asked before, and they said it was weird to go to that sort of mental space that they hadn't actually been to in a long time. So yeah, we had this huge conversation, and from that I was able to form, in my head at least, a very clear structure of how I saw the film panning out.
No, that's really cool. So was it just that only that initial time that you went with him, or sat down with him, and then all three of you arrived on set, well, not set, but on the farm to film that day?
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's difficult because they live so far away.
Yeah.
So you want to prep people as much as possible, and you want to get to know people as much as possible. It's really important with a documentary because they need to trust you, really, because when you have a documentary subject, you have their kind of lives in your hand, really, and so trust is a really important thing. But, you know, just because of distance and availability, that was the only real time I could actually spend like time with them where I was actually there.
So how many days did you film over that time period? Sort of, you were there for 7 months?
7 months, but it was, that makes it sound like we shot absolutely loads and loads. We actually shot across 7 days. So the only reason we shot across 7 months is because we needed to get certain landmark things that were happening. Yeah. And there was a lot of waiting around because we had that Beast from the East thing.
Which
was great for us though, because it made it look even more, it made, you know, show the audience thinking, you must have shot this the whole year, because, you know, we got a bit of fog, got a bit of rain, but from a cinematographer's point of view, gold.
No.
I liked it, made the music brilliant, it was good.
No, that's amazing. So obviously when you went into shoot on the first day, did you have a solid framing plan, or did you sort of just go with the flow, see what they were doing, and then sort of build your mind of framing along that time? The more time you spent with them, you knew what was going to come up and how to do the framing of the shots.
The difficulty we had, very similar today, was very sun coming out the clouds and that sort of stuff. And obviously working with John as well, we couldn't put him straight outside because there was planes out there. So the main thing is we walked into the house and I was looking for textures. So I looked at the back wall, very green, and I loved the window because it was frosted.
Yeah.
So that gave us a little bit of diffusion because I think literally about an hour after the interview we finished with both of them, the sun streamed through. And outside we had some flags outside on some C-stands, and then the look I wanted was the very cinematic no-hair, like very just real soft key, and then some negative fill to bring that contrasting, because I just feel like he had a very interesting face, and it's just a nice layout. It's just the way the other option was to shoot behind the other way, but it was just a door. Then there was nothing visually interesting there. You had like piles of books and an old TV, house plants. I think otherwise would have been to the fire, which then would have made an issue with the sound. I think it's the only place you could probably shoot that wasn't going to cause logistics with sound and sun path.
Yeah, it was a great location for just creating atmosphere though, because this farmer has spent his entire life on this farm and in this house, and so the house is like an extension of his character, and so. Like they said to us at certain times, do you want us to clean up this little bit area or that? And we're like, no, it's perfect.
Just
it was like a well-dressed set in a way though, because there's little things like the house plants and next to it these older magazines, but from a visual aspect it was brilliant because you had that kind of contrast with the old, looking after something in old magazines. From a storytelling point of view, it was phenomenal. It was built to be filmed in, we said, didn't we?
You did a lot of interview scenes. Did you film the interview scenes first, or was that completely done sort of on the first sort of few days of shoot, and then sort of the pickup shots later on?
Yeah, because basically I always like to film the interviews first, because from that it will inform your cutaways and whatever else you film. I mean, meeting them beforehand, you can form a rough idea of the structure and you're pretty sure you've got it, but there's always surprises when you actually come to interview. And the worst thing to do would be to shoot all of the cutaways first, and then they say something absolutely golden in the interview, which is like location specific, and you're like,
yeah.
So where possible, it's always nice to film the interview first, and actually because it's kind of.
And it's one take. Yeah, that was a great thing. One take, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is, because the always thing you worry about is how people are going to be on camera. Even like us today, we're not.
Yeah.
It's not a natural setting for us.
We've taken you out of your
that's
environment.
it.
You're normally behind.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
No problem.
But that's what I mean. Is that kind of and that then adds on to factors, and that would affect the end shot where the light came and everything. But I mean, we was, I think, lucky as well in that. It was just generally both great on camera. I mean, I think the thing that helped is Alex did the interview first, so they were kind of giving some footnotes, that kind of stuff, which really helped. Because I think if you just turned up, put a camera in, and then started asking, we're going down this route, because I mean, sometimes I might feel uncomfortable with it, but it was really one take, wasn't it?
Did that help with the sort of the pickup of the sound as well as the shots, specifically with the sound area?
I mean, the recording of the interview was actually quite straightforward, really. I mean, if you said to any sound recordist you'd be recording an interview in the kitchen, you'd be horrified, because and also the floor was what's that material? Like it wasn't carpet or anything.
Yeah, nothing to soften it.
Nothing like that. So, but because of the amount of things in the kitchen, it kind of broke up the sound. So there's, so from a reflections point of view, it was actually it was quite a breeze. Yeah, I did some stuff in post and all that kind of stuff, but generally you need to try and get it right at the source.
Yeah.
And there was me on cans, and I was thinking, this sounds great. I'm relieved to say.
It is lucky. I think what's best is we have a look at our first clip from 73 Cows.
I came here with the intention of changing the farm to something that would not involve taking animals to the abattoir.
Taking them to the abattoir, which is what we often did, being small farmers. We only had one or two animals to be slaughtered at any one time. You felt as if you were betraying them because you'd made friends with them, if you like. And so to all of a sudden, one day, load them into a trailer, something they'd not experienced before. And you knew that you were taking them to what must be a terrifying experience. It was soul-destroying, that's how it felt. It was very difficult to do, but wanting to keep the farm working as a farm, I just needed to keep doing it until I could find what else to do.
It really is beautiful, and you can feel not over just from what he's saying and the audio and everything, but from the shots that were taken, Jade's conflict and their conflict with what they're doing and how to change it, which I think is really beautiful. In regards to the equipment you guys used, what did you go with in terms of camera and audio equipment?
I always ask it over when we do some talks. I always ask the people, what do you think it's shot on? Because I've had a lot of people different, you know, it was shot on Red, was it shot on GH5, was it been shot on an Alexa? For this decision, I owned a Canon C500 at the time, so and I still believe to this day it was the right tool for the right job, that one. So yeah, it was the C500, so the interviews were shot in 4K 10-bit.
Okay.
And the B-roll was shot in 2K 12-bit 50 frames 444. That was the main, so there's the body with the 7Q to get the different data rates. And then obviously I used Sigma Art Prime, so we had a 24, 35, 18 to 35 and a 50. Used predominantly, mainly between the 35 and 50, just because I wanted those intimate shots with him, with the cows, that kind of stuff, you know, the real close-up of the eyes and the ears. In terms of grip equipment, lighting, we use an Aperture 120D, a phenomenal tool for that job, with the softbox light dome on it with the egg crate on there.
Okay.
And then negative fill, so 2 black solids, so we had a 48 by 48 and a 24 by 36 for neg fill outside, and just normal sticks, and then the rest was handheld, so I had no easy rig at the time, no steady and the 1DC was shot a little bit on it, 10% of it, and another 10% was shot on the C300 Mark II. We used the Ronin M, which was kind of everything. That's from the film shots, obviously the audio.
And in regards to the audio?
The sound recording was, the actual recorder was a Zoom F8. Okay. The mic for the interview was the AKG Blue Line series with the CK93 capsule, which is the hypercardium capsule. The sound design and all that kind of stuff afterwards, actually at the farm and at my house, was a Rode NTG2. Okay. And a friend of mine, literally about a couple of miles away from where we are now, recorded a lot of ambient. He literally took a Zoom H4n outside his house and she left it recording for 45 minutes and then handed me the files. So not mega expensive equipment. So,
but it was completely from equipment that you already had.
This is the equipment obviously that I built up over the time, and John's built up as well, just for the corporate jobs, because obviously I started on the C100. I mean, I've been almost like a cannon boy now, it sounds like. But yeah, I went C100, brilliant tool, and I thought I wanted a bit more options with frame rate, so I went on to the C500. I looked at the Mark II at the time, and the 1DC. So yeah, it's all our equipment we had readily available. Everyone always goes, it's done on no budget, we had that equipment. But I mean, that was all our equipment put in. There was nothing that we rented.
I was going to say, because it was a passion. We have called this From Passion to BAFTA, because it wasn't something that you were signed up to do. It wasn't something that you got a funding for. No. It was just something that you did because of the love of the job. So really, it's not fully that you don't have a budget, because you've built what you could do. You have built the software, you know, you've sort of got software that you've downloaded and paid for to edit it on, because I know, Alex, you edited it. What did you edit it through?
Premiere Pro, but I was a bit stupid with it really, because I didn't make proxy files. I just sort of like rushed ahead because I was just excited to edit, and I was just like, yeah, my laptop will handle it. And then after I'd done like one scene, everything was just so slow that I could only watch the film if I exported it.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
That's why it took 7 months,
That's why it
really.
took 7 months. Yeah, we only shot it one day. But no, the editing was like a real slog. It just took ages and ages, and I should have just made proxy files really, because it would have just sort of whizzed by. But yeah, so the editing was a bit like, because also with the first draft, I had it reviewed by somebody who I like really trust,
Yeah.
and they were like, the first half's great, the second half's not great, and they explained why. And I was like, actually, those are the things that I really didn't want someone else to say, because those are the things I thought. And when someone else has sort of validated your sort of like skepticisms about
Yeah.
it, you go, okay, yeah. So I just completely re-edited the second half of the film. And again, with that really slow edit rate, it was just like, you know, when something just consumes you completely.
Yeah,
and
completely.
it's just like, yeah, you're dreaming about cows when you go to sleep.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was passion, and you guys got there and back off your own sort of, in a way, passion to do it. I'm saying passion an awful lot.
Yeah.
What do you think that keeps your drive there? Because it's not just the fact that you want a documentary
Yeah.
for, you know, to show your variation of work. There was a need in you to tell that story and to show Jay's conflict.
I think we also, as individuals, we've got to change, we've got to innovate. You know, you can't keep doing the same thing with the same equipment, the same. And the only way to be successful, I believe, is take risks. You know, take a chance. You know what? We shot this on the C500. People would look at me and go, "Ah, you know, you should have shot that on an Alexa, or you should have got, you know, should have got another camera." And I think the main thing that I think why it's successful is because we all kind of went into our own departments. So it was kind of like, you know, Alex was doing directing, John was doing sound, and then I was doing camera. Sometimes you have a director who's a cameraman or a sound person who's an editor, and it can kind of bash heads that kind of way.
Yeah.
But I think, again, go back to what we're saying is, again, just having change, because, you know, I wake up in the morning and I go and do the corporates as normal job. But so I wanted to do something different. I trained, you know, I love the aspect and appreciate the art form of film. So I thought, you know, that's the one piece element that was missing from my area of expertise, was documentary.
I think I was just going to say on that, like, for me, it's like, I think we're all like filmmakers at heart.
Yeah.
And it was just really nice to be able to do something that you're actually really interested in, rather than something where somebody's just got a brief.
Said,
Yeah.
I'll pay you, and then
Yeah.
obviously you need those jobs in between to pay you and push you through it.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't get
Yeah.
paid, you would end up doing something completely different. In regards to sort of the shot that we saw in particular,
Yeah.
On the C500, did
Yeah.
you use a particular LUT,
Yeah,
or
so-
was that done in post to get that colouring tone? Because you do feel, even
Yeah.
through the colouring,
Yeah.
Jay's conflict over what
Yeah.
he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll discuss with Alex what's the kind of colour palette we're looking for. And I've always been a big fan of neutrals. I'm not a big fan of the oversaturated. Obviously, we did it at the very end of the film because it's different kind of emotions.
Yeah.
But I kind of really learnt in depth where to put skin tones in that film. So I kind of relied on the log image. We normally people use like a 709 LUT. And I then basically tweaked that LUT in post-production, Resolve and Premiere. He's tweaked that, just gave me like a basis LUT and just tweaked it then, because again with LUTs, one LUT's not going to fix a shot inside but outside. It's, you know, it's always a starting point. So I kind of had a LUT for inside, a LUT for exteriors, LUT for a cloudy day. But yeah, so it's just kind of Canon log one, so it's that kind of, I knew where to expose it. So it kind of helped me, or I knew the knowledge of the camera, which kind of helped me then learn to expose and how to colour grade it.
Yeah, amazing. In terms of sound as well and sound design, was all the sound coming from the farm? And if not, did you do it sort of? Did you find an archive, or how did you do the pickup of the sort of the soil turning and so on like that, and the footsteps in the mud?
I didn't use any library sounds, no archive. There is a lot of stuff that was done in post. Like I said, a friend of mine, Rob, thanks Rob, he literally recorded some ambient noises. He's got a beautiful house, so he recorded, like I said, 45 minutes of country sounds. So that appears in the film about 4 times. But you've got things like feet noises. All those feet noises are mine. I walked around literally around the farm, pointed the microphone at mud and snow and all that kind of stuff as I'm walking around. And you've got the mud that you're talking about. That's mud out my back garden. There's water. There's
Because you did one with a watering can,
there's
didn't you?
I basically put my fist there over some bushes, pointed the NTG2 at the bushes, poured the water over my fist so that the water would hit something first and then trickle down. And it sounded, I was really, really proud of that actually.
Yeah.
It's not a complicated thing to do, and I found a lot of the stuff that it was quite straightforward to record, that when you get it to your computer, when you are listening back, you think it sounds actually really, really glorious. The slams and the door slams, that's live, that was recorded live.
You haven't talked about your secret sound. John's got a secret sound that he always puts in a film, every film, and he's always tested us now. Where's the secret sound on projects now?
There's like a whoosh, like a sound that I try to get in, and every film that I try to do.
You have your mark
Copyright
on every single
in
one.
that though, hasn't he?
And it's kind of hidden away, so see if you can spot that. Views.
Yeah. Time codes, please.
And there was a lot of work that went into the sound of it, and I really enjoyed doing it. And but the thing is, there's one shot near the end of the film where we're at Hillside, and Jay's what's the line he saw?
Ah.
That you feel like
They're not
They're not
yours.
his cows anymore. Well, I wasn't even there. I was probably on the other side of the farm trying to record, the other side of the field trying to record some cows mooing. You try and record cows mooing, folks, it's impossible. You got 6 moos and that's it for the whole film. And it was recorded on, was it an internal camera
On the
mic?
1DC.
So,
We sound awful now. I'll just step out now.
so it did need a lot of post. There was a lot of messing with the EQs and isotope and all this kind of stuff. But we needed that line.
Yeah.
So when Alex showed me the cut, it was like, oh, what am I going to do with that, you know?
Yeah. And why was I over there, not over
Yeah,
here?
I just wish I'd got a microphone.
But you always mentioned
But it actually fits with the film. Yeah, the quality's not great, but at least we captured it.
Yeah.
Whatever mic it was, at least it was captured, because it obviously ended up on the film, and it's a real iconic line that he says.
I think the magical point from your aspect is the planting scene. So if anyone's seen 73 Cows, when Jay's doing the planting,
Yeah.
that for me, because me and Alex filmed it with strictly no sound, so we saw it, it was like, wow. To me, that is the technical aspects
I
of.
really enjoyed that bit as well.
It's the
Sort of, you get the feel of being
Yeah.
in the earth, like there, present,
Yeah.
and sort of being one with nature, sort of working on the ground with him, which I thought was really
Quite
beautiful.
an arty section, because Alex put a second trailer, I don't know what you call it, a second trailer together, so we could go a bit OTT with the sound design and stuff, perhaps. And then you're messing with reverbs and stuff like so, and it's perhaps a bit unusual to have that kind of special effects on, on a film like that. But it kind of worked. And then when we had to obviously do the mix, I had to bring it down in the mix. But it's still there. You've still got these strange echoes and reverbs and stuff. And again, I wasn't actually there for that day.
Yeah.
I did all that in my back garden.
Amazing.
This is the thing, like when the sound design's good enough, you shouldn't really notice it and you shouldn't be thinking about it, which is a shame for John, because no one realises he's literally, everything you hear in 73 Cows, apart from the interviews, didn't happen live. And even when Katja saw the film, she said, like, my wind chimes on my door don't sound like that. And it's because John had, John's completely redone every single sound in that entire film, so.
No, and it fits so well. Obviously, it's not just you were there 7 days over 7 months. It's a hell of a lot more that goes into it, and it really is your passion that builds it. Now, say what if you did have a budget and someone said, we want you to make it into a feature, or there is a car alarm going off somewhere. I'm not sure if it's our car park or someone else's, so I do apologise. But what would you change about it?
The film. So keep Alex.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's difficult because, I'm trying to think, like, if we'd have had more people on site each day, I feel like you'd have lost that sort of like tight-knit feel. And say there's like 10 people in the room when Jay's giving his interview, would he have given that interview differently? And all of these things that are quite kind of organic, when you throw like real high gloss at something for a documentary, like at what stage does that start to become a little bit too cinematic and a little bit too out of the sort of documentary
And you
form.
don't get the feel
And
as
it would
much.
have hindered us as
Yeah.
well. I mean, like going back to the cameras again, it's, you know, I choose C500 because I could be really quick. If I had like a Red or Alexa Mini or anything like that was a bit more heavier, I'll be slower, so I won't get the shots for that aspect as well. So I think I think the only thing we'd do different now that we did now is I wish we had a bit more behind the scenes, because obviously we was constantly working. I wish I had a bit more behind the scenes, because a lot of people have been so interested after the following what happened with the films. It was just the behind the scenes and then how was it shot, and I think that was the magic we kind of missed, which is obviously a learning curve for all of us, but I think that's probably the one thing we probably would do differently now.
I think that the gear we had, I mean, yeah, it's some people would frown at perhaps some of the equipment I use. Some sound designers would think it was kind of college stuff. Well, to be perfectly honest, that's all I could afford at the time.
No, absolutely.
And it's better to do something with something that's kind of, I say average. I wouldn't call it an average kit, you know. But I know how to use it.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, Ollie could have got themselves a camera, a lot more expensive camera, a better camera, inverted commas. But it's what you do with it. It's how you do with this. And also, 73 cows. It's all about the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks wonderful, sounds wonderful, but it's the story. It's been cut together really, really well, directed really, really well, and it's the story. It's not about us four. Well, there's only 3 here, but in the shots as well. It's not just about us. It's all about their story, and it's the story that got us that award, basically.
And that's a crazy thing now, and it's a lovely thing for us to hear now. It's no one goes, oh, it looks amazing, or it sounds amazing. It's that, oh, we love the story, and as filmmakers, that's our job done.
It is, because that's what you're trying to get across.
You know, and I'm guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of it. You know, we want, I want to use this gear and this gear, but at the end of the day, is that kind of, I reckon I could have shot on a different camera, a cheaper camera, and probably still shot. You know, I think the main thing that made it was the story, and again the teamwork aspect, everybody knowing their roles and working in that role to the 110%.
So let's take a look at clip 2, which is another clip we've got from 73 cows.
Everything that had bothered me about the process of beef farming in the past, all that burden of responsibility was lifted, and it was just such a relief to know that the animals I'd been looking after would have a happy cowy life for the rest of their lives. I know it sounds soppy, but it was a joy really to learn that the ones who were still living on the farm were going to be saved, literally, and enjoy just being cows.
I mean, it really is beautiful that you get across his passion to change and the conflict within inside of him of breaking that mould, because that's what it was in a way, wasn't it? That he was breaking the social norm. Did you, with the lighting and so on and shooting a particular angle, did you go for a particular time of day to go for shoot so you could get that angle of hope? Because it is a
Yes, we planned that day, didn't we? You know, look at the sun. It wasn't the sunset light. Ride away into the sunset. We imagined the burning, the sunset, but it worked for what it did. So I think we were there at the right time, because it was a long drive. It was a big, was it 5-hour drive? Was it 5-hour drive? So we got to the location at 5:30. Sun was setting. I think it was just about 8:45, 9 o'clock, wasn't it? 8:45.
Because we wanted that sort of, you know, the golden hour.
Yeah.
We wanted that sort of like light beams coming through, and you know, we didn't quite get that sort of like, whoa, this is like everything's like that nice like golden hue. We didn't get that, but we got a good day for it, and we waited for ages to get that day as well, because the weather wasn't actually good enough to have like, because when it's not the summer season, those cows are in like a massive shed, and the ground has to be dry for a certain amount of time before the cows can be let out. So waiting for that day held up the whole production by at least like 5.
Unpredictable as well, because you know we didn't know what Jay was going to do when he was on there. So we're kind of timing it around can you stand a little bit over there to make it look good? But I mean, yeah, so that aspect was challenging because it's unpredictable. Because you know where the cow's going to be. You know, because at the start, a lot of them were right down the bottom, weren't they? Then they scattered in the middle. Then they was chasing John around with the boom. That's where John was for the audio section.
Nice recording movies. I think the thing is with the end of the film though, it was a lovely summer's day like it is today, and that probably helped the positive end to the film. And I can still picture the shot though. And we did, I don't know, about 3 or 4 takes of this, where you got Jane Catcher walking away with the titles. And it wasn't until I'd seen it a few times that one of the cows just turns and looks straight down the lens of the camera.
Breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like a dream, you know.
No
it's
one
not
can
CG.
direct, yeah, I was
that's
going
not
to say,
CG.
no one can direct that either.
You know, we weren't holding any kind of food or anything like that. That's
but it was
exactly
the
what
bit with
happened.
Jay when when John was talking about the audio section, but it was brilliant then because you could really see his emotions then. That the point where you could see, well, this is really affecting him, and he's, you know, and it was lovely to see that. And I think the great thing is then we was obviously 2 cameras there, we had the 1DC and the C500 going at the same time, because I think that was the moment for me, whereas that kind of realisation, it's kind of like, I've done the right thing, and it was like the happy side of thing, wasn't he?
And that's the great thing about Jay as well, is that because he's not media trained, he's not at all thinking about how he's coming across, and so all of these moments are really sincere. You know, I'm not having to like coax the moment out of him and going, what are you feeling now, Jay? You know, that sort of thing. It's all just like
cinematic pauses.
Yeah.
It was
He
like
does have a lot of pause, and I feel like it helps build his conflict.
Yeah.
And they're not brought on. You haven't dragged them out. They're just natural.
Yeah, I mean, the long pauses are great in terms of editing. 'Cause, you know, when people roll their words and then you just can't find the point at which you can edit without them sounding like you've edited it. But yeah, him with his kind of like, he thinks more than he talks. And in those moments where he's thinking, he's saying more than he does with his words. So it's really nice to like hold on those moments. And there was one of those moments that's very long, and I watched it a few times and got a few different opinions as to like, is this too long? Is it awkward? And does it become funny and seem like where's the edit going to come? But everyone seemed to agree, like, actually no, it's just like you're just watching him trying to just not break down. You know?
There was so much emotion with him, and and you could feel the unsure because he was breaking that mould, and sort of the conflict within inside him. We have got a question. The shot with the cows running in the field at the end was magic. Did that happen randomly, or did you film that several times to get that particular shot?
No, so we knew they were being let out, obviously, onto this field. It was just me and Ollie that day, but we weren't sure, like, which direction they were going to run in, whether they would run. We'd heard that there's a possibility they could run, but me and Ollie were like, oh, we've never seen anything like it, so we're not sure of that. We weren't sure whether they would just kind of like stay where they were. So we had to just kind of guess. And
it's scary at the same time, wasn't it? I mean, thanks for the question. It was scary because obviously we're on this tiny flatbed trailer, so I'm on a 50mm lens now, because obviously I've never seen what cows up when they're released. So I'm looking at Alex and they're coming bombarding down, and they're running and they're literally getting to us, thinking, it's Alex, they're not gonna stop. So that's kind of me. It's probably 5 seconds after the camera shake, because I'm thinking, if I fall off this trailer now, I'm in trouble. Then obviously, the overhead shot and that sort of stuff is magic. And I think everybody will always remember the overhead shot, because I think that for me sums up the whole film of freedom, and how green life is. I thought, and it shows how happy he is. I mean, we did a couple of takes, different ones, but that was the main one, was the first take, and that was again a learning experience, because we did not know. They could have run the other way when they first came out. They just stalled, didn't they? I was thinking, this is not going to be fun, and all of a sudden, then they just bounded through. Then Jay was walking in the middle. It was just a magical moment.
It was magic. Like, I don't think anyone could plan that shot or expect them to do it.
Happy accident in the film,
And you're just there to capture it.
Yeah. We were very worried about, like, if we missed that moment, then we're not going to be able to call the cows back and say, can you do that again? That was great, but could you run it? You know, so we were very, like, it reminded me of, I did some wedding filming, like, years and years ago, and the fear of thinking, if you missed the moment when they say, I do. It reminded me of that. It's like, this is the only moment in the entire of the shoot where we have one shot. But luckily it was all right. So.
No, that is really good. Obviously, you went through production, you went through post-production, and it really is beautiful. So how did you initially release it? Because you didn't obviously have a budget, you didn't have a distribution team to go, right, we made it, here you go, right, can you do your thing and get his name out there? So how did you initially go around that area for people who don't have budgets?
So basically, Nishat, who's couldn't be here today, she did all of the marketing basically. She's my wife, and she's like, when it comes to marketing, she's just like amazing.
She's on it.
She knows exactly what she's doing. I don't have a clue. And so she was like, from even before we started filming, she's like, we need to start building an audience now.
Yeah.
And so we set up a Facebook group. And so by the time that we actually like released the film, there was already like quite a few people like commenting, saying they were excited. And it was like, okay, this is weird. So we released it online on Vimeo for free.
Yeah.
And we thought maybe like a couple of hundred people will watch it.
Yeah.
And maybe if we're lucky, it will get into like a few festivals as well. But literally, like, we kept like refreshing the page, and it was just going up by the thousands and by the thousands.
That's amazing.
And we were just
Crazy, wasn't it?
and we started again, another one of Nishat's ideas was like to kind of target people on social media who are like have an influence to share the film. I mean, you can't be sure that they will, but you can always ask the question like, hey, this is a film I think you'll like, do you mind sharing it? And then all of a sudden that's loads more viewers, and it's all these little tricks that Nishat knew that I wouldn't have done that have really generated that sort of snowball effect that we just didn't anticipate.
And you also released it at festivals such as Rain Dance, Four Seasons, and vegan. Oh, I said that so wrong then. Vegan film festivals. When you initially planned to make it, were you planning to release it at festivals, or is this just something that sort of built along the way?
Yeah, I mean, Rain Dance was kind of like the main aim, festival-wise, because that's sort of been a bit of a dream for a while, because Rain Dance is like, it has a heavy focus on independent filmmakers. And we're like, oh, this would be so perfect. And luckily it got in on the draft, and we were like, what? You know, we were all really excited. And so that's where it actually had its premiere.
Which is scary as well, isn't it? Because, you know, all we've seen, you know, looked at monitors at home. So we're going on this big, massive screen now. And me and John looked at each other. It was the first time I've ever seen it on a massive screen, thinking, And I was thinking then, is the colour grading right? Is the sound right? Booming shots, the standard, but that was that kind of, I couldn't enjoy watching the film until afterwards. It's that kind of like, because there's that so much pressure on then. And the conversation we and Alex had at the start was that was our aim, Rain Dance, because for us, we used to do little, independent, some of the festivals, but that was the big one for, we've got to try and get this one. And I suppose going back to your question, 20 minutes ago, what we do differently. I think we would have the budget side with somebody that know-how of distribution, because obviously, I mean, took a lot of Alex's times up, and I think that's the bit where we're shooting into the dark then. Do they want this film? How much do they want for it? And I think that's where I think a good project is a good producer and knows how to get your film in front of people. And I think Rain Dance, and then kudos to Nishat putting the Facebook group, that built the audience. And then we had this laugh who was on set, weren't we, for a job, and then we were refreshing it. He had 12,000, it was going 13. He picked up his #1 trending documentary on Reddit, wasn't it? And it was overnight, 40, 50,000. It was crazy. It was like kind of like, no way, it's refreshing. It's going up thousands, wasn't it? Like in 20 minutes.
That's Sunday after, because it was at the Rain Dance Film Festival the week before. And we were all sitting there, because all we're used to is seeing it on like a little laptop or a little screen, and you're spending a lot of time and a lot of work, and we don't test it in cinemas. You don't test it literally. You just really hoping that your knowledge and your experience and all that kind of stuff to make it as good as possible works. And then we get there and we see it at the Rain Dance Festival, and it's that look of excitement, relief, and pride. I've seen it, and then a week later, it gets released on the Friday. By the Saturday, a couple of hundred views. Then that Sunday,
thousands.
We can't describe what it was. You were refreshing Vimeo, and you've seen it going up by the thousands, and you're thinking this is bomb.
And then we get like a staff pick, which is amazing for Vimeo. You get a staff pick, and everything just kept spiraling. When you think things were going quiet, something else will come up there. And I think the great thing about it is it's touched everybody in different ways. You know, people from a film management aspect to someone who's vegan, someone who's transitioning, someone who's a meat eater, and that sort of stuff. And I think that's the great success of the film, is it's not preachy.
I mean, this is where we come on to talk about what's on the table.
Yes.
Because you guys did win the Best Short Film this year, so massive congratulations for that. And it's definitely well deserving. So, obviously, when you first made it and you first started to release it, you went through sort of rain dance and everything like that, but BAFTA wasn't mentioned. So, how did that come about?
So basically, because we got into rain dance is a BAFTA qualifying festival.
Right.
So once you're into rain dance, you're eligible to enter to BAFTA. But I didn't enter it into BAFTA because I just thought, well, it's a no budget film. It's not going to win a BAFTA. There's no point. And then Ollie, luckily, put the pressure on. He's like, we've got nothing to lose. So on
Thanks,
the
mate.
on the last day,
Thomas was sitting there next to that, really.
but on the day that the last day that you could submit it, on that night, I just put together I didn't spend much time on the application or anything like that, because there's loads
You just
of things.
winged it.
Just sort of sent the film in, sent all the bits they're asking for, and then closed my laptop. Didn't think about it until they sent an email saying you've been longlisted, and longlisted is it was exciting, but it's is the long list 1,000 films or is it 10 films? So still didn't really think about it. And then on the actual day that we knew they were all being announced, I don't know about these guys, I didn't really get much sleep the night before, and they'd already announced the main BAFTA sort of nominees, so the big feature films and all of that, and I hadn't heard anything about the short films, so I was trying to find online. And then I got a phone call from my mum saying, I don't want to get you too excited, but if I'll send you a link in a minute and just have a look at that. And she's like, I don't want to say it's definitely been nominated because
it's always the mum's
yeah. And so it's just
it's been it's
crazy.
Incredible journey, because even to the point where the BAFTA was in February, we had so much press going forward. We went on the Friday before was an ITV News at 10, and it was mentioned the big films, and then obviously mentioned our film. And then it's just been literally, it just seems that when you think back at it now, it seems like that was 18 months ago, 2 years ago. But it's been such a blur, but it's so exciting as well, because it's that kind of, just goes to show is, just believe in what you want to do, and, don't think about budget. Just, if you want to make something, go and make something.
Yeah.
Make a mistake, learn from that mistake, move on and do another film. I think that's the thing, is we had a budget. I don't think if we had a budget and a bigger crew, I still believe that wouldn't be sitting there now. I think they would have looked at that as a film going, well, that's like a film like the other ones, load of budget. All the other films we're up against had quite a lot of budget. Same with Rain Dance, we're up against another film that had 30,000 splashed on it.
Yeah.
They had the cinematographer Bobby Yeoman's lenses and everything on there. And then there's ours sitting in the corner with literally £20 of petrol put in us in it. But I mean, but that's the learning experience, I think, from all that is that kind of, when we was there on the night, we walked through at the BAFTA event, and we went to the top floor, didn't we? We looked down thinking, oh God, and we got our ticket numbers, and we were literally and so I was sitting next to the head security guard of the whole thing. Yeah. There was Alex next to me, so he was on the front row, and then your heart started pounding, and the short film come up, and it was that kind of, oh,
what
wow.
was that pain like? Were you so nervous?
I don't know, at that point, it was kind of like, when they said, and now the short film nominations, it was like, the nerves sort of went for me a little bit then, because it's like, okay, finally we're getting there.
We're here,
And then I literally said to Ollie, we haven't won, because if we'd have won, then there'd be someone pointing a camera in our faces right now. And then literally on cue, a guy came with a camera, and then I was like, okay. But then I noticed every single other nominee also had someone with a camera, so I was like, all right. And then he read the name, and it was just kind of I thought in the moment that I sort of jumped up and went mad, but watching it back,
Did you just freeze?
That's the great thing about it, is that kind of how do you prepare for that? Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of people, I used to get to people with my partner, I was saying to John on the Sunday, it's I'm really nervous. We were going on stage thinking, but it's not like a job interview, it's just like the rest of your life. And all these emotions going through your head, but then as soon as we got that award, it was just literally into another room. It's just been crazy since then.
So, was the rest of the night a bit of a whirlwind?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, the prime example was when we went to the after party, wasn't it? And then I said to Alex, I said, is no one really here, is there? And he goes, there's Peter Jackson there. I said, no, it's not. Yeah, it's Peter Jackson. There's Peter Jackson there. And I was like, what? And then we walked downstairs and there's all these different celebrities, went Andy Serkis, Taylor Swift.
Crazy.
Even the stage was brilliant as well.
It was mad, yeah, because after the BAFTAs have aired, they invite all of the winners back on stage. And we were the first on stage just because we were next to the stage. And then there was only like one other guy on the stage, and I was like, oh, it's Spike Lee. And so I walked up to Spike Lee, shook his hand, and he was like, well done. And then every other person who came onto the stage was just like people you've watched and idolised, you know, forever. And suddenly you just stood next to them. It was bizarre. Like Bradley Cooper just came and like stood next to us. And so we were like having a little chat with him.
And you also met the Prince of Wales.
Yeah, he was...
No, it's the Prince of King. I don't know. I'm really bad.
The future king.
The future
Prince
king.
William. Prince William.
Prince William.
Yeah, because he came over to us because he was sort of doing a sort of meet and greet with everyone.
He does the BAFTAs as well.
President,
Yeah.
he's president.
But it was bonkers because I thought he'd just say, hello, well done, and then move on. But he said, oh, I was watching the news the other night and then I watched your film. Yeah, remarkable.
There's a video on the 73 Cows Facebook page of all us, like, isn't there, meeting him, and even the point where John, you know, we called John on stage then. I was like, where's John gone? Where's John? And he's there talking to Olivia Colman on stage, and it's just like, you know, when you talk to it now, it's like name dropping a bit, which is such a surreal moment.
Yeah.
But it felt normal on the day, didn't it? Like it was talking to anybody.
It was weird.
He was weird. I mean, Prince William was real. But literally 30 seconds before he comes over, we're talking. Are we supposed to bow? Do we bow? Do we call him sir? What do we do? What do we do? And he was just a really good bloke. But unfortunately, he's an Aston Villa supporter. So. But no, he's really
live,
good
John.
bloke.
This is. Be careful. He's probably tuning into this.
But a really, really good chap. And he obviously knew our film, and he was just talking to us. Like Alex said, he wasn't there for, say, a couple of seconds. He must have been talking to us at least a minute or two, wasn't he?
Because a lot of people are messing with the, you know, going with the big stars, and we kind of think, well, we're short film, we're in the corner, we're at the back of the photo, aren't we? So it's that kind of thing. But then he spent a lot of time with us, which is kind of really nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good.
It's because there's such like a moral ethic to the story, which I think is great. So what are your tips for anyone making a passion project?
I would say that basically it sounds like the most obvious thing, and it's like a really simplistic way of saying it, but just make a start.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing worse than, say you're a painter, having that blank canvas and just standing in front of it and just procrastinating, and just make a start. Even if you don't have all the tools for the job yet, just do something and just make sure you're always taking another step forward, because you know, by the time you get to a few months in, you think, oh wow, actually, you know, even though I've been taking these, what I thought to be tiny steps, I've come such a long way. So yeah, just make a start, basically.
And do your best. I think the thing is, when it comes to film, the attitude, this is not, I've just heard it through the grapevine, so the attitude of oh, it'll do, or let's just get a film out there and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit, I personally think it's a bit wishy-washy. I would suggest just doing the best you can. Even if you've got like a small sound recorder, or a small camera, or whatever it is, just do it to the best that you can. If you know you've done the best you can, then I think that shines through, and that's what I would suggest.
I think for me would be, by two aspects, would be kind of work with people that share your same passion as you. You know, if somebody wants to work, 16, 17 hours or anything on that, you know, that's the reason why this film worked, because we invested so much time and passion into it. And I think, you know, people get too bogged down with the gear as well. I think that's the problem is I always say to people is eat and breathe and sleep it, because, you know, learn so much about it, learn about distribution, learn about all these things and make mistakes. That's the big main thing. Where there's no loads of money involved, make mistakes, so you'll learn then that wasn't the right shot for that, etc.
So I've got a question. What is the process like of doing the applications for festivals?
So depending on which festival, it can be really easy. Okay. So like you've got pages, online things like Without a Box and Film Freeway, where it's like you only have to fill in all of the information once, and then you can submit to loads and loads of different festivals without having to do your bio again and you know, and all of that, and add pictures again. Some festivals are like independent from that, so it's a little bit more time consuming, and you have to do like a form specifically for them. So it's just kind of like the main tip about entering festivals is, like I think Ollie said a bit earlier, just make sure you do your research. I think
Get your media pack as well, isn't it?
to get a media pack together, which is something that's just going to sell your film in a really short, you know, easy to read, easy to consume way. But yeah, do your research on festivals, because we entered far more festivals than we should have.
Okay.
And that's just off the back of going, this looks cool, let's submit
Let's just do it, yeah.
And before you know it, you've spent loads of money, which, as you know, most aspiring filmmakers and young filmmakers,
Personal money as well.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, it's just strategic more than anything, isn't it? You know, it's like a lot of people don't launch the film and then go down the Edinburgh Cannes route,
Yeah.
and then look for investment at Cannes, or they go down to the London Independent Film Festival, South Bank, or Encounters, all these different ones. I suppose that kind of thing is where do you want your film to be seen?
And we got rejected as well.
Yeah.
We had some rejections.
Because of the sound, I think.
Yeah, because of the sound. So it wasn't because of you know, all the boxes of the ones that the festivals that Alex put in for. We didn't sort of get loads of yeses from everybody. People turned us down, which I think is great.
Yeah.
You know.
So who keeps it?
I do.
You keep it. So you're like, it's mine. You
No, I
didn't-
mean, you know,
No.
happy to like
Doesn't
you
spend like
around yours.
Wednesdays
Yeah.
at your house and then
Babysitting duties, yeah.
Thursdays.
We've got like a night watchman now, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next for you guys?
So
Are you
we've-
still working together, or?
Yeah. I mean, we've literally just got back, not literally just, but a few days ago, got back from America, having shot a film which is going to be around 3 scientists who were all sort of like pressured during their studies to basically test on animals. So it's kind of another very like character-based film, just exploring like why these people ended up doing what they did and why they now want to speak out about it. So yeah, we got back the other day, and I think we're all like now just about not jet lagged.
Just about.
Yeah.
We obviously the Sunday we won the BAFTA, and then me and Ollie were filming 3 or 4 days later.
On Monday, is
Was
the
it the-
Monday?
was it-
Wednesday.
So a couple
Yeah,
of days later.
yeah, Wednesday.
Back to the day job, which
The
is
grind.
mainly corporate stuff.
So you're still
Uh,
doing the corporate
yeah.
end as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
mixing these in as well.
Yeah, that's right.
No, that's amazing. I want to say a massive thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us. Thank
We
you.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it. I want to say also a massive thanks for you guys for tuning in
Thanks
and
for watching.
If you like what you've seen, hit us a like. If you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button. But from all of us, I want to say a massive thank you and see you next time. Bye.